They came in the night, fast and silent, like shadows with claws. The alien raiders, known as the Dravari, broke through the outpost's weak shields in minutes. Their mission was clear: take supplies, take prisoners, and leave no trace. The gay humans fought back, but they were outnumbered, outgunned, and caught off guard. In the chaos, smoke and fire filled the cold metal halls of the outpost. Among the noise and fear, they found her, a young woman in a gray medic's uniform, kneeling beside a wounded soldier. Her hands were stained with blood, but they moved quickly, calmly. She didn't scream. She didn't beg. She just looked up when the aliens surrounded her, her eyes, cold and unreadable. One of the Dravari laughed. "This one is weak. A healer, not a fighter." Another nodded. "She'll fetch a good price in the markets. Humans sell well." They didn't see her clench her jaw. They didn't notice the tiny silver badge on her chest, an Earth Combat Corps symbol, worn only by battlefield medics trained to save and kill. They shackled her hands and dragged her aboard their ship. She didn't resist. She didn't speak. She only stared at them with eyes that made one of the younger guards shiver. He looked away quickly, pretending it was nothing. The ship launched from the surface, leaving behind a smoking ruin of what was once a human medical outpost. Deep in the dark hold of the alien ship, Sarah Vance sat chained to a wall. She scanned the room. 6 guards, 1 camera, 1 ventilation, shaft above her. She breathed slowly, quietly, waiting, remembering. She remembered battlefield screams, explosions, soldiers crying out for help as she stitched wounds under gunfire. But she also remembered other things: her training in survival, infiltration, hand-to-hand combat. Earth's military didn't just teach their medics how to heal. They taught them how to kill, fast, quiet, and without mercy, because sometimes saving others meant becoming a weapon yourself. One of the guards passed by her cell. He smirked and tapped the glass. "Still quiet, little human?" he said in his thick Dravari accent. She didn't answer. The lights flickered for a second. The guard looked up, frowning. "Stupid power. Systems," he muttered and walked away. Sarah leaned back against the wall, her eyes narrowing. She had seen the flicker. It wasn't just a power issue. Something was off. Her instincts, sharpened from years in war zones, told her the ship wasn't as secure as they thought. Good. That meant she had a chance. Hours passed. The ship drifted through space, quiet and calm. The crew relaxed. One guard fell asleep at his post. Another was too busy watching a game on his holopad. No one noticed the vent above the cell slowly slide open. No one heard the soft thud of something metal falling into her hand. It was small, sharp, hidden in the lining of her uniform. A gift from a dying soldier she once saved. "For when talking doesn't work," he'd said. She worked quickly. The cuffs clicked open. Her hands were free. She didn't run. She waited. Then the lights flickered again and went dark. Alarms buzzed. Red lights lit up the halls. The guards shouted, running to their posts. In the chaos, Sarah slipped out of her cell and vanished into the ship's guts. One of the guards returned and found her empty chains. "She's loose," he yelled. "Seal the lower decks." Too late. Sarah moved like smoke, silent and fast. She knew how to move in tight spaces. She knew how to hide in shadows. One by one, the lights in the lower decks died. Systems shut down. Engines coughed and failed. The ship groaned, like it was scared. The captain of the ship, a tall, scarred Dravari named Rektal, stared at the reports. "How?" he growled. "She's just one human medic." But no one had answers. His crew looked nervous. One technician whispered, "She's not just a medic. She's Terran combat." Rektal slammed his fist on the table. "She can't take this ship alone." But even as he spoke, a voice came, through the ship's speakers. Calm, cold, human. "You took me thinking I was weak," Sarah said. You thought I'd beg. You thought wrong." The crew froze. The voice came from the command deck's speakers, from the engine room, even from the walls. Then came the sound of doors sealing, power surging in strange places, and a countdown starting. Sarah had found the ship's core. Rectal shouted orders, but it was too late. The medic was now the hunter. She stood in the engine room, watching the systems collapse. One hand held a stolen weapon, the other pressed against a console she barely understood, but understood enough to break. Her face was calm, her eyes burned. Somewhere, far away, Earth's signal beacon lit up. Help was coming. But by the time they arrived, there might be nothing left to save, and the aliens would learn a terrible lesson. Never underestimate a human, especially not one trained to heal and kill. The ship was no longer quiet. Panic moved through the halls like fire. The red warning lights blinked fast, casting shadows on every wall. Alarms rang out as if the ship itself was afraid. The Dravari crew ran through the corridors, searching. Weapons were drawn, scanners activated. But the human girl was gone, vanished. One moment, she was chained. The next, she was smoke. Captain Rectal stood on the bridge, staring at the screens. "Find her," he growled. "I want her back in chains, alive or broken." His second officer looked nervous. "Sir, we checked every cell, every hallway. There's no sign of her." Rectal snarled. "Then check again. She's just one human. She can't hide forever." But Sarah Vance wasn't hiding. She was hunting. She moved through the ship's dark vents, crawling in silence. Her breathing was calm, her heart steady. She had memorized the ship's layout from overheard. Conversations, emergency signs, and small details. She had a plan. Step by step, she would break this ship from the inside. Her first stop was the medbay. She slipped in unnoticed, grabbed what she needed, stims, bandages, and 2 surgical blades. The room was cold and empty. The alien medics had no idea one of their tools would become a human's weapon. She smiled quietly. "Let's begin," she whispered to herself. In the control room, the lights flickered again. One guard checked the panels and frowned. "Someone's messing with the power relays," he said. "Deck 5 is losing pressure. No damage, just wrong settings." The captain's eyes narrowed. "She's in the systems," he said. "Seal off the lower decks, now." But Sarah was already gone from Deck 5. She moved fast through narrow tunnels and side halls, avoiding cameras and motion sensors. Every few minutes, she would stop, listen, and strike. One patrol never returned. 2 guards disappeared near the food storage. A third was found unconscious, his weapon missing, a needle jabbed into his neck. Whispers began among the crew. "She's a ghost." "No, she's a Terran, a combat medic. They say she knows how to stop your heart without a sound." Fear started to spread faster than the alarms. Captain Rectal tried to stay calm, but he could feel it too. The ship didn't feel like his anymore. The walls seemed to close in. The systems were no longer responding properly. Cameras glitched. Doors opened and closed without reason. His ship was becoming a trap, and Sarah was the one building it. She reached the armory next. It wasn't easy. 2 guards stood outside, heavy weapons in hand. But Sarah had patience. She watched, waited, then caused a distraction, a loud noise in the next corridor. One guard went to check. The other barely had time to react before she dropped from the ceiling, silent as death, blade to his throat. Inside the armory, she took what she needed, small explosives, a sidearm, ammo. She didn't want a war, but she would end this on her terms. She wasn't here to escape anymore. She was here to take control. One of the crew finally caught a glimpse of her, just a blur, moving through steam and shadow. He fired but hit nothing. He radioed in, voice shaking. "I saw her. She's armed." The captain snapped back. Then shoot to kill! But that was the problem. They didn't know where she was. They didn't know how she moved. And they didn't know what she really was. Sarah reached the engine room hours later. Her path was quiet, careful, and deadly. Her face showed no fear, only focus. She checked her map, made her way to the control panel, and slipped inside. One technician stood in her way. He raised a tool to hit her. She didn't hesitate. A quick jab to his neck. He dropped, unconscious. Sarah stood over him and whispered, "You should have left me alone." Back on the bridge, another alarm went off. "Engine room breach," someone shouted. Rectal stood up, his face pale. "No," he whispered. "Yes," came her voice through the speakers again. "You boarded Earth's outpost and took one of us. You thought I was weak, just a medic. You were wrong." Suddenly, the engines began to power down. The lights dimmed. A countdown appeared on the bridge screen. 15 minutes to full shutdown, said the computer in a calm voice. Sarah had taken control of the engine room. Rectal roared, "Send every soldier! Get her out of there!" Dozens of armed troops rushed toward the engine room. They moved in tight groups, scanning corners, checking every door. But Sarah had set traps, gas vents, blinding lights, doors that slammed shut behind them. One by one, their numbers dropped. In the engine room, Sarah stood at the center, holding a weapon. She looked at the countdown and smiled. She had done what she came to do. The ship was no longer theirs. And Earth had heard her signal. She didn't know how long they would take to arrive, but she knew one thing. When they came, they would come prepared. And these aliens would understand the price of touching a human soldier, especially one trained to save lives and end them when needed. The air on the alien ship was getting heavy. The crew could feel it. Something was wrong. Their systems were breaking down one by one. Lights flickered, doors jammed. Oxygen levels dropped in certain sections, then returned to normal. They were losing control, and all of it was because of one human, Sarah Vance. The Dravari had never seen anything like her. She didn't scream or panic. She didn't run in fear. Instead, she moved like a ghost, fast and quiet. She knew exactly where to go, how to move, and what to break. One by one, their strong warship had turned into a prison. Their prison. Captain Rectal stood in the command center, gripping the edge of the console. "We need to stop her now," he growled. "She's just one human." But his crew didn't respond right away. Some were silent. Others looked down. One finally spoke, voice low and shaking. "She's not just any human, sir. She's Combat Medic Tier 1. Rectal's blood turned cold. Tier 1 medics were a legend among soldiers. Trained on Earth's death worlds, they knew how to heal wounds in battle, survive behind enemy lines, and kill with terrifying precision. Earth didn't send many into the galaxy, but when they did, it meant only one thing. Someone was going to pay. Meanwhile, Sarah was already moving again. She left the engine room through a vent before the soldiers arrived. She had planted small charges in key areas, enough to disable the ship, not destroy it. She wanted them alive. She wanted them to feel what she felt when they took her. She made her way through the upper decks, where command systems were stored. Her boots made no sound. Her breath was steady. She passed a group of alien officers arguing about orders. They didn't even see her. Moments later, the lights went out in their section, and their comms went dead. Sarah entered the weapons control room next. It was guarded, but she didn't attack right away. She watched, studied, waited until one of the guards stepped out to check a noise. Then she struck. 2 hits, one to the neck, one to the chest, and the first guard went down. The second tried to raise his weapon, but she moved faster. A stun round to his head dropped him. She disabled the ship's weapon systems with a few precise commands. Then she smashed the control panel, leaving it in pieces. Now the ship couldn't shoot, couldn't run, couldn't fight. Back on the bridge, Captain Rectal was losing his mind. "Weapons offline. Engines offline. What next?" he shouted. "She's a single human! Fight her!" But his crew wasn't just scared. They were broken. One by one, they had seen their friends fall without a sound. Entire teams vanished. Hallways sealed. Life support failing in parts of the ship. Some thought she had help. Others whispered she wasn't human at all. In the crew's quarters, a group of Dravari soldiers huddled together, weapons in hand. "She's hunting us," one said. "She's not trying to escape. She's taking the ship." "She was trained to heal," another said, voice full of fear. "But now she's using that training to destroy." And they were right. Sarah had been taught how to work under pressure. How to read a battlefield, how to treat injuries in total chaos. But she was also trained to stay alive when everything went wrong. That meant knowing where to hit, how to strike, and when to disappear. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was turning the ship into her weapon. She climbed through the maintenance shafts and reached the hangar bay. Her eyes scanned the area, ships, drones, supplies. She disabled the launch controls, sealing the bay shut. No one would escape. Then she found a communication hub, one used for trade signals. She activated it and sent a message, not to Earth's military this time, but to the Dravari Empire. The message was short. "You kidnapped a human medic. She has taken your warship. If you value your crew, don't interfere. Earth is watching." She sent it without emotion. Let them feel what she felt. Let them know she was coming. Back in the hallways, a group of guards tried to ambush her. They thought she was still in the engine room. They were wrong. Sarah used the shadows. She waited until they passed, then struck from behind. One dropped instantly. The other fired wildly but missed. She hit him hard, knocking his helmet off. He gasped. "Please, don't kill me." She stared at him. "I don't." "Need to," she said. "You'll carry a message to your captain." She leaned close. "Tell him the medic he captured is now in control." She vanished before he could answer. The guard ran back to the bridge, panting and terrified. "She's everywhere," he said. "She's not fighting to escape. She's going to take the whole ship." And for the first time, Captain Rectal said nothing, because deep down, he knew. This was no longer his ship. It belonged to her now, and the real war hadn't even begun. The silence across the alien warship was no longer peaceful. It was the kind of silence that came before something terrible. Sarah Vance had moved through the ship like a storm, quiet but unstoppable. The crew had tried everything, weapons, traps, ambushes, but nothing worked. Now they hid in corners, afraid to even speak. The bridge was filled with tension. Captain Rectal stood still, watching the flickering screens. His own ship no longer obeyed him. Weapons were offline. Engines were frozen. Internal doors were locked. And the systems, every alert, every sensor, every warning, had been reprogrammed. "To speak in English." "System check. Controlled by human operator," the screen repeated calmly. "She's taken everything," the second officer whispered. Rectal clenched his fists. She was supposed to be weak. A prisoner. But Sarah was never weak. She had waited, studied, and planned. She hadn't just escaped, she had taken command. And now, deep inside the ship, she sat alone in the communications room, sending out her second signal. This one wasn't to the Dravari Empire. It was for Earth. "Combat medic Sarah Vance," she said into the mic, voice calm. "Captured aboard. Dravari warship. Location marked. Request retrieval or strike. I've taken control of the vessel. Uploading ship data now." She paused for a second, then added, "Don't send anyone soft." She hit transmit. The signal left the ship in a sharp pulse, cutting through space like a flare. Somewhere, far away, human satellites would hear it. And then Earth would know. Her people would know. And when Earth knew one of their own had been taken, they would come. But Sarah didn't wait for rescue. She didn't need it. She had one more task. The prisoners. She had found the holding cells while mapping the ship. Now, with full control of the ship's security, she opened every single cell door from a nearby console. One by one, aliens, prisoners of war, traitors, smugglers, and political rebels stepped out, confused and afraid. Then they saw her, a human covered in bruises and dust, holding a stolen weapon. "You're free," Sarah said. "The Dravari aren't in charge anymore." One of the prisoners, a gray-skinned alien with 4 arms, stepped forward. "What's the price?" he asked. "Help me keep this ship," she said simply. That's it. Some prisoners were too afraid to help, but others, fighters, mercenaries, and engineers, saw something in her eyes. She wasn't begging. She wasn't bluffing. She was a leader now. And they followed her. Together, they stormed the lower decks. Sarah gave orders like she had always belonged there. "Seal this hallway. Watch the left flank. Clear medical bay. No killing unless you have to." The prisoners followed, armed with stolen rifles and tools turned into weapons. The crew tried to fight back, but they were tired, disorganized, and terrified. Every hallway felt like a trap. Every noise made them jump. And when they finally faced Sarah and her group, most just dropped their weapons and surrendered. The ship was hers now. Every section, every deck, every control panel. She walked onto the bridge not by force but by silence. The doors opened. Her boots echoed as she stepped forward. Rectal turned around slowly, staring at her. "You don't belong here," he said weakly. Sarah stared at him. "Neither do you." She raised her weapon, but didn't fire. "You're lucky I was a medic first," she said. Rectal didn't reply. He dropped his head in defeat. Sarah turned to the console. With a few taps, she locked down the entire ship. No one could move without her permission now. The Dravari soldiers were disarmed and locked in a cargo bay under guard. Her new crew, former prisoners, took their posts. She sat in the captain's chair, not just for show, because she had earned it. A few hours passed. Then something changed. A signal. Not from the Dravari, not from any nearby system, but from deep space. It was a human frequency. Earth had heard her call. The message was short but clear. "Help is on the way. Hold position. Prepare for contact." Sarah smiled for the first time in days. Then she stood, turned to her new crew and said, "We hold this ship until Earth gets here. No one touches this bridge. If anyone tries, shut them down." They all nodded. Even aliens who had once hated humans now listened to her voice like it was the only sound that mattered. She had become something more than a medic, more than a prisoner. Now, she was a symbol. The girl they had abducted had taken their ship, and Earth was coming. The Dravari would never forget what one human did, and soon neither would the galaxy. Sarah stood on the bridge of the captured Dravari warship. The stars outside the window were calm, but inside everyone held their breath. Earth had answered her signal. Help was coming. But she didn't relax. Not yet. She knew the Dravari Empire wouldn't give up so easily. Not after what she did. The alien warship was now under her full control. Systems obeyed her. Former prisoners had become her crew. And the Dravari soldiers, once proud and arrogant, now sat locked in cargo bays like scared animals. Still, Sarah felt the pressure growing. Every second brought the unknown closer. Then it came, a flash in the darkness. Not just one ship, but several. Sleek, dark vessels broke through the stars like shadows with purpose. Human warships, fast, silent, dangerous. They didn't send a full fleet, just a small response unit, but even a few ships from Earth meant serious trouble for anyone nearby. The lead ship hailed her. This is Commander Rain, Earth Naval, Recon. Signal received. Identify status. Sarah didn't waste time. This is Combat Medic Tier 1, Sarah Vance. I control the Dravari ship. Enemy crew is disarmed and contained. Sending full report now. There was silence. Then a response. Copy that, medic. Hold tight. We're boarding. Sarah turned to her new crew. We're about to have visitors. Stay calm. Don't point weapons at them, unless they shoot first. They nodded. They trusted her now. Even though they were from different worlds, she had earned their loyalty, not by words, but by action. Moments later, Earth's boarding team arrived. They wore black armor, helmets sealed, weapons ready. The Dravari guards in the brig flinched at the sight. These weren't just soldiers. They were Earth's elite. They didn't storm the bridge. They walked in with calm steps, eyes scanning everything. When they saw Sarah in the captain's chair, they paused. Combat Medic Vance? The team leader asked. Sarah stood. Yes. He looked around, impressed. You really took this whole ship? I didn't do it alone, she said. I had help. From the ones your enemies forgot about. The leader nodded. Command wants to speak with you. Sarah followed them to a secure channel. On the screen, a calm, older face appeared. Admiral Tegan, one of Earth's top fleet commanders. You did well, medic, the admiral said. We received your signal, your logs, your footage. The Dravari broke every treaty. We have authorization to respond. Sarah's voice was steady. I need to know. What happens next? Admiral Tegan leaned forward. That depends. This ship is valuable. The tech, the data. Your capture and takeover has revealed their weak points. Earth will use this. But we want to know if you're staying aboard. Sarah looked around the bridge. She saw the crew, the strange mix of former prisoners, engineers, and fighters who now worked together under her command. She thought of what the Dravari had done, how they took her thinking she was weak. I'll stay, she said, at least until the job's done. Tegan smiled. Then welcome to the front line. The transmission ended. Sarah walked back to the bridge. Outside, Earth's ships began scanning and guarding the area. No Dravari vessel would dare attack now. Earth was here. And when Earth showed up, everything changed. Her new crew looked at her with curious eyes. One of the former prisoners, a tall insectoid engineer named Kurlik, stepped forward. You're not just a medic anymore, he said. You're our captain now. Sarah didn't smile. She wasn't here for titles, but she knew what he meant. The ship had a new purpose, and so did she. Suddenly, alarms flashed on the panel. An alert. Dravari ships. 3 of them. They were on approach. Sarah stood tall. Get me comms. Kurlik tapped the screen. The image of a Dravari captain appeared, his face cold, voice sharp. You will return our ship now, he said. Surrender and we may let you live. Sarah stepped forward. I was a medic, she said. I came to heal. Your people took me, hurt me, treated me like nothing. And now you want your ship back? The Dravari captain sneered. You don't understand who you're dealing with. But Sarah's voice was calm. Yes, I do. I've already won. You just haven't realized it yet. Before the Dravari could speak again, Earth's ships entered view, locking onto the enemies, targeting systems active. One warning shot was fired. It wasn't from Sarah's stolen ship. It was from Earth. A glowing beam sliced through the space between them, a warning that said, Don't test us. The Dravari ships turned and ran, cowards in the face of real power. Sarah sat back down in the captain's chair. This wasn't over, but for now, the message was clear. They had taken the wrong human, and now Earth was watching. The stars outside were no longer calm. They flickered with movement, silent, but dangerous. Sarah Vance stood at the center of the bridge, Her eyes locked on the radar. More ships, Dravari reinforcements, bigger than before, and this time they weren't here to scare her. They came to destroy the ship she had stolen. She stayed calm. Earth's small task force had already sent word back home. A full fleet was on its way, but it would take time, hours, maybe more, and the Dravari weren't going to wait. 15. Enemy ships, Kurlik, the insectoid engineer, said. 4 cruisers, 2 destroyers, rest are fighters. Sarah nodded. They want this ship back, or gone. She turned to her crew. You've all got one chance. If you want to leave, the escape pods are unlocked. No one moved. Even aliens who had once feared humans stayed at their stations. You gave us freedom, one of them said. We'll fight with you. Sarah gave a quick nod. She didn't smile. There wasn't time for that. All right, she said. Then let's make them regret this. The Dravari ships came in fast. They weren't here to talk. Lasers flashed. The first attack hit hard. Shields shook. Metal groaned. But the ship held. Sarah's hands moved quickly across the console. She wasn't a trained pilot, but she had learned fast. Beside her, Earth's recon officers provided data, support, and backup fire. But their numbers were small. The real power was still too far. Target their sensor ships, Sarah ordered. Blind them first. Cannons fired. The Dravari formation shifted. They didn't expect their own tech to be used against them. But Sarah had studied this ship like it was her own body. She knew where to hit, where it hurt the most. Direct hit, Kurlik said. 1 sensor ship down, another damaged. Sarah turned to a former prisoner who now worked the weapons bay. Use their own torpedoes. Fire 2 at the closest cruiser. The woman hesitated, then smiled and nodded. The warship shook again under enemy fire, but it didn't break. Suddenly, a sharp voice came through the comms, a Dravari commander. This is your last warning, human. Stand down and we may take you alive. Sarah leaned forward. You're too late. I'm not the one surrounded, you are. Then she cut the signal. Seconds later, Earth's task force made their move. 4 fast attack ships launched from behind a nearby moon, cleverly hidden, waiting for the right moment. Their weapons lit up the stars. The battle turned. Sarah's ship, once a prison, was now fighting like a true warship, because the crew believed in it. In her. 2 Dravari fighters exploded near the bridge. Flames flickered in the blackness of space, then vanished. The alien commander screamed orders through open channels, but nothing worked. The moment they had feared had arrived. They hadn't just kidnapped a medic. They had started a war. Enemy cruisers retreating, Kurlik shouted. Their line is breaking. Sarah gave quick orders. Don't chase, let them run. We're not done yet. Suddenly, an alert. 1 ship was headed straight for them, fast, burning bright. A suicide run. They're trying to ram us, someone yelled. Sarah made a split-second choice. Redirect power to the front shields, now! The crew obeyed. The enemy ship got closer, closer, until finally, a blinding flash. The entire bridge shook. Lights flickered. Alarms screamed. But when the smoke cleared, the hull was still intact. They had survived. The enemy ship was gone, vaporized. But so was part of the outer plating. Damage to starboard hull, Kurlik said. But we're still flying. Sarah looked out the front window. The Dravari fleet was broken. Most of their ships had turned and vanished into the void. The few that remained were being hunted down by Earth's patrol ships. It was over. For now. Sarah exhaled slowly. She had done it again. Not just survived, but won. The bridge crew stared at her. She was no longer just a symbol. She was their captain. She had led them through the fire, and she was still standing. A soft chime rang on her console. Another message. From Earth. This time, not a command. It was a request. Captain Vance, Command requests your strategy logs for fleet review. Your actions may reshape Earth's battle doctrine. She blinked. Then she looked around the bridge. The alien crew, the stolen ship, the floating wrecks of enemy fighters, all because she refused to break. Sarah Vance, combat medic, prisoner, survivor, had become something more. She wasn't just part of Earth's response anymore. She was leading it. And the galaxy had just seen what happened when someone took a human girl and underestimated her. The next wave of enemies wouldn't make that mistake. The galaxy had changed. News of the battle spread fast. From hidden colonies to high council chambers, every system now knew the same truth. The Dravari had lost a warship, and not to an army, not to a fleet, to one human, to a medic. Sarah Vance's name echoed through channels in whispers and warnings. Aliens who once saw humans as weak now spoke her name with fear. The Dravari called her the Ghost Captain. Some said she was a myth. Others believed she had special powers. But the truth was far more dangerous. She was real, and she was just getting started. Back aboard the stolen warship, repairs were nearly complete. Earth had sent engineers, weapons techs, and diplomats, but no one gave her orders anymore. Not really. Sarah had earned a new kind of respect, the kind that came from action. Her crew, once prisoners, outcasts, and survivors, now wore custom uniforms, a symbol of unity, a sign that this wasn't just a stolen ship. It was something new, a message to the stars. Earth doesn't forget its own. Sarah stood on the bridge, her hands behind her back, eyes watching the stars. Kurlik walked up beside her. Another message just came in, the insectoid engineer said. From Dravari space. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Let's hear it. The screen lit up. A Dravari ambassador appeared, wearing dark ceremonial armor. His voice was cold but careful. Captain Sarah Vance, you have disrupted balance in this sector. Your actions have made you a problem. Sarah didn't flinch. You made a bigger problem when you abducted a human medic and thought no one would come. The Dravari blinked slowly. We are prepared to offer peace, a formal apology, perhaps even a treaty, if you return the vessel. Sarah laughed, short, sharp, and honest. You don't get it, she said. This ship isn't yours anymore, and I'm not here to fix your mistakes. I'm here to make sure no one else suffers the way we did. She ended the transmission without waiting for a reply. Kurlik looked at her. You think they're really afraid of you? She turned, eyes sharp. They're not afraid of me. They're afraid of what I represent. Earth had been quiet for a long time. Too long. The galaxy thought humans were just another species. Smart, maybe tough, but not a real threat. That lie had shattered. Because one medic, trained to save lives, had shown them what happened when you pushed humanity too far. As days passed, more alien groups reached out. Small worlds, oppressed colonies, rebel factions. They didn't trust Earth yet, but they trusted her. They had seen what she'd done, and they wanted to be part of it. Sarah didn't build an empire. She started something older, stronger. Hope. One night, she sat alone in the command chamber, staring at a data file. It was her own report, the first one she'd sent after escaping the Dravari cell. She remembered the pain, the silence, the cold fear that no one would come. Now ships moved at her command. Commanders took her advice. And Earth. Earth had changed too. Admiral Tegan contacted her again. This time his face was softer. Not military. More like a proud father. We're expanding, he said. New alliances. Old enemies watching their step. And it started with you. Sarah didn't smile. She just nodded. What do you want next? The Admiral asked. We can bring you home. She looked away, toward the stars. No, she said. There's more work to do, more people out there still in chains, still forgotten. Tegan nodded. Then we'll back you. Whatever you need. The screen faded. Sarah stood and walked back to the bridge. A new destination blinked on the map, an old mining colony under Dravari control. No reinforcements, poor defenses, but many innocent lives trapped. She turned to her crew. "Set course," she said. "We're going to set them free." No, one questioned her. They just moved. The engines hummed, the stars shifted, and once again, a ship that was never meant to be hers carried her into the unknown. She wasn't looking for revenge anymore. She was building something. The galaxy had its warriors, its kings, its tyrants. Now it had a medic with a stolen ship and an unstoppable will. And wherever she went, fear followed the name Sarah Vance. Because the Dravari learned too late. She was never just anything. She was human, and that was more than enough.